ah 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 ah. When I had you to myself. Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. I don't want to say that today's stream's a little later than usual because technically it's not, because I haven't decided fully on a time when these morning streams would happen. Okay, just wanted to make sure. So I was like trying to be really careful without like to say I was not going to be live at 11 without saying I'm going to be late or I had to make a change, because I feel like there's like this negative feedback loop sometimes I get into when I am like, oh, I'm late again, or oh, I made this promise and I've broke it. And one of the things that I really like about these morning streams is that they're a little more free form, you know, they're a little more have flexibility and stuff like that, and that keeps me from coming down too hard on myself when it's like, oh, I said I was gonna be live and I'm not live, oh my god, I'm such a bad streamer, versus okay, well, things happen, so I gotta make this a little bit different than I usually do. So anyway, that's to say I'm here at 2. For those of you who have been joining me in the mornings for the past couple days, I hope that your morning went well, even without me. How dare you have a morning without me? And today I wanted to try something. Now, this is kind of a mess, and I'm like, I don't know if this is proper protocol, but I noticed that I've been getting a lot of awesome comments on my video clips that I've been clipping from the live stream. So I wanted to go through and like just kind of respond to some of them. I was kind of going back and forth between whether I should wait for the actual show to respond to them, or I should just do it now. And I was like, it could be a fun thing I do sometimes. You know, the whole thing about this whole morning stream is that it's flexible, girls. It's flexible. So I wanted to make it some type of like dum 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 dum. And it's called, so I wanted to make it a comment court, but that does seem really aggressive. So just as a disclaimer, I'm not trying to come for anyone. This is just fun comment K-pop thingy that I wanted to do. All right, so this comment is, let's see. Okay, one of them I wanted to kind of go over because, okay, so this was actually on the actual live stream from Monday, and I noticed that people were coming for me. Girls, they were dragging me, kind of, and I was like, okay, I kind of deserve it, low-key, because essentially, in that stream we did on Monday, I talked a bit about the whole G-Dragon scandal and situation with the report that he was being booked for doing drugs. And then that, apparently when the article came out, they hadn't even like told him directly yet. So there's a lot of shady stuff. And then on top of that, he was, I was going to say deemed innocent. He was, he tested negative. So there was a lot of people being like, okay, so 2 things that I commented on. I commented on the fact that he tested negative, which I did say up front. However, you know, me and Jazz like to talk. We like to kiki. We like to say jokes. So it went from kind of being about him testing negative to kind of bringing up how he previously had tested positive or was caught like a long time ago and he had smoked weed. And then on top of that, we had kind of joked about, you know, oh yeah, he has to redeem himself. And then also that there might be a time in the future where this stuff doesn't even matter. So there's a lot of stuff that was put into that segment. And I think a lot of people maybe were taking it not great. Anyway, so first of all, we'll have this comment. I'm gonna like try my best to obscure the names because again, I don't want it to come off like I'm attacking anyone, and I want people to feel comfortable commenting whatever they want. So maybe I should even obscure the video because I don't really get enough comments for people to, well, we'll see. It'll be there. We'll see. All right. So the first comment says, this one had me a bit gagged. I was like, okay, I'm kind of going to jail, period. It's kind of crazy. All right, so the first one said, and again, this was in response to talking about the G-Dragon drug scandal story earlier today. Said, watch your mouth because G-Dragon is suing and your video literally came out yesterday when he tested negative. Stop speculating if you don't know him. Like, what the F? Now, again, I was gagged a bit because I was like, oh, not G-Dragon taking me to court, but I mean, I think that comes from the idea that, you know, malicious comments, you can send them to like the agency, and a lot of agencies now have like different like ways to report negative comments and stuff, which I think overall is a good thing, right? Now maybe this is a bit biased. I don't think what I said was that inflammatory. I never said that he was actually on drugs. I never said that he's lying or anything like that. I said he tested negative and he's cooperating. So based off that, you got to believe him. And we have to just leave it up to the police investigation. But I feel like if he's cooperating, that is indicative of the fact that he probably didn't do it. But yeah, okay, here's the thing. So it's hard because when this commenter says stop speculating, I'm kind of like, damn, that's all I do though. But I kind of get what they're coming, like the perspective they're coming from, right? Like, if you don't know, which I don't, because I'm not out there, you know, in the court case, in the courtroom or whatever. If you don't know, don't speculate. But I will defend myself a little bit and say I wasn't speculating as to whether he actually used drugs or not. I was just saying if he ever uses drugs, and if it was more of like a general kind of comment. Like I said, okay, he was caught in this past, and then in the future it would be interesting if there was like more lax opinions towards drugs and stuff like that, and how, you know, idols used to get dragged for smoking like cigarettes and now people don't care anymore. I wonder if that will change. So I will say, I don't even know what I'm saying. This is a fair comment, but it's going to jail. Actually, it's trying to put me in jail. I don't know how I'm gonna like define these comments, but I just thought that was actually like really interesting, and I was like, okay, maybe I need to check myself before I wreck myself. Next up is actually another comment. This was actually so Big Bang VIPs, they kind of have a burden to pick with me low key, but that's fine because I just be talking, and you know, I like to, for the lack of a better term, put my money where my mouth is. And by that, I just kind of mean, like, if I say something, I'm going to sit here and defend it. Or if the person who's calling me out is right, I'll take that in stride as well. All right. So the next comment also is in that same video. And this is, see, this is why that whole section was kind of a mess. Because I did talk about multiple different things within that one segment about G-Dragon being booked, or the reports that he was being booked for doing drugs. So it's kind of hard, and I kind of get people being frustrated with me. However, let's actually get into the comment. So the comment says, say anything about Big Bang when their comeback last year eclipsed every other boy group without exception. I guess you spend your time on Twitter. That's why you talk like that. And so this was specifically what I had said, was I was a bit shocked how things have changed over the years, because on forums that I go on, different places where people talk about K-pop and stuff like that, it used to be, if it was an article about Big Bang, all rave reviews. People just being like, yes, Yokshi Big Bang, they're everything, they're it, bada boom, bada bang, only praise. I wish my faves could touch a hair upon their head. And now I've noticed that people tend to be a lot more negative. Now, this was an interesting, when I was like reading this back and thinking about this, I was like, this is kind of an interesting situation, because a lot of the times it just depends where you're reading news to see who comments there. So there's like a lot of like forums and places and pages where K-pop's discussed that are known for being biased, you know, maybe towards SM groups, anti certain groups like anti-Blackpink or anti-BTS. Like, they have a certain like bias to them, in that anytime there's an article, it might always get the most negative interpretation by the audience that frequents that. So to this person's point, I haven't even read the comment, I will say yeah, it kind of does depend on where you're reading places to see like that kind of like, you know, factors into what kind of opinions you're going to get. However, I will say conversely, if you go to a place where it's mostly stands, they might have the opposite effect where a largely negative community that's negative about a certain company or a certain group will always be negative, whatever. But then there's also groups where when the group legitimately could have faced criticism because they're stans, they won't even have it. They just won't even, like, you know, the Seungri fans who just will just not hear and think that he was treated unfairly and yada yada yada. So like there are people that are biased in either way. So I'm just saying, like, there's some people who can't take any type of criticism or critical anything towards their faves, and there's some people who, as soon as they hear a group's name, they're foaming for their mouth. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. But anyway, back to the comment. This commenter says, say anything you want or anything about Big Bang when their comeback last year clipped every other boy group without exception. I guess you spend your time on Twitter, that's why you talk like that. I just don't understand why the haters don't focus on their faves. It's disgusting. International fans will say everything is nonsense, but in Korea, GD and Big Bang are legends. I'm just going to send the link to your video to his lawyer because it's too annoying. See, this is why I'm going to jail, period, today. Again, I'm being threatened, y'all, but that's okay. The thing is, I am annoying, so that's kind of fact. But I will say again, this is a fair criticism, but it also seems like somebody who's just like, anything that's positive towards my fave is bad. Anything that's negative towards, or anything that's positive towards my fave is in fact everything that's not positive. But I do agree with their sentiment that haters that are super obsessed with a group are just as weird as people who act like their group is the second coming of Jesus. But please don't send me to jail. All right, y'all. I'm just trying to make ends meet. All right. So the next comment that, first of all, shout outs to everyone who's watching the Did Jam Republic Actually Have a Chance video that I posted. I don't know why, but it's like blowing up and a lot of people are commenting. So thank you, because that's always nice to see, you know, when I put in some extra work and clip these videos, people actually check them out. So this next comment I wanted to read that a user posted in regards to that video. So just as a reminder, that video was clipped from Monday's podcast where we specifically talked about the finale of Street Woman Fighter 2 that happened, was it last week? At this point, it might be 2 weeks ago. That happened 2 weeks ago, where Bebe was crowned the winner of the show, and a lot of people are upset because they feel like Jam Republic was robbed. So this particular fan says, as both a Bebe and Jam Republic fan, I feel like what most people are upset with is the weight of each voting category. I think most people wanted a majority of the vote to be handled by the judges because they would be objective. However, I don't think that there has ever been the case for these kinds of competition reality shows. The reason why the public becomes so engaged is because they can hold influence over who wins. That's just how a majority of these shows, Korean or not, work. I think that's just the general downside to competition shows. They are a popularity contest at the end of the day, but I don't think that that is enough to say that Bebe didn't deserve to win. So this is more like positive twist towards Bebe, which I think a lot of people are being level-headed on the comment section. That's always why I worry talking about maybe more controversial things and clipping about them, because I'm always afraid it might turn into just like a hate fest. But everyone's being very, very cordial. I see this a lot, like judges scores, not just with competition shows, but with awards too. If judges scores weighed more, it would be a lot more fair, because then it would be like a objective. Well, technically judges can have their own biases, but for the most part, an objective basis on why people are awarded. And the thing is, I do agree in theory, but I feel like I've also seen in situations when judges vote, even in shows like Street Woman Fighter, like people hated Boa because a lot of her opinions and her voting during the first season. I didn't watch Street Men Fighter, but I watched the first season. So it's like, in theory, that should be the ultimate equalizer. But unfortunately, what then happens is that if people don't agree with the judges, they'll drag the judges and say the judges are biased or the judges don't know what they're talking about. And even though, like, I mean, everyone's going to complain about something. I do think that while that in theory, again, should be like an equalizer, people will find a reason to blame who they think won shouldn't won. Because I agree, if it was something a lot more objective, then maybe it would be a lot less people saying, oh, it's just a popularity contest at the very least. But I feel like people will always find a reason, and if it's not on the show or the contestant that won, it will be on the judges and like the bias. But I would say, like, overall, I do agree that a bigger judges score might have made sense, especially for this show. And I do agree, in competition reality shows, people do like the fact that they can choose, and when they can't have that sway, it gets them upset. We see it happen all the time, again, both in competition shows and with voting for awards. But I really like this comment because I feel like it was really level-headed, and I agree that there's just always going to be upsides and downsides. Again, I don't have a way not guilty, but yeah. So okay, this is another comment on that same video. This is not necessarily towards, what was actually being debated, but I thought this was a really interesting comment that somebody put. So let me just pull it up. So this comment reads, "It's telling that Mannequin, despite being deemed by a lot of pro dancers to be the strongest crew, consistently nailing every challenge, wasn't even in the running to be top 2. I feel like Mannequin was, and I'm not even gonna say from the judges or from the show and like voting and stuff like that, I do think that they got a lot of unfortunate circumstances where they were just put up against people who ever like just really happened to slay the competition, or people who are just really well liked. So I feel like they struggled a bit. But I also think, in terms of like, in my opinion, from what I've been seeing, I feel bad for them, because I feel like in theory they should have been very beloved by international fans. Like, they slayed. I feel like they had really good choreography. They're like, for lack of a better term, very cunty. Like, I don't know how, like, the whacking was very, very slayful. But I think what kind of killed, from what I saw, and again, I think by the end a lot of people liked them and appreciate them, but at least from an international perspective, I feel like the situation that happened between Latrice and Redlick early on, I feel like kind of screwed over their favor with a lot of international fans to begin with. So I feel like, again, on the international side, it took a while for them to pick up steam, because a lot of people held that against them. I feel like, but this kind of goes into your comment, because while I do think they actually were like really good for like the majority of the show, I think a lot of people kind of like held their tongue to say that, besides maybe Sarah, and like when she would come out with her whacking, like people held their tongue, I believe, because I feel like they're like, well, we don't like them because like the Redlick Latrice thing, and it took a while for people to like come to terms with that thing happened and now it's gone or whatever, and we're not gonna get like a proper explanation on it regardless. So yeah, I do agree that overall, like, Mannequin was kind of robbed. Let's see. There was a really good comment. Okay. Let's do this comment. This is also, most of the comments are going to be from the Street Woman Fighter video, because that one has the most comments and has like a good diverse set of comments. So I'm probably going to end up pulling for most of these, but if you have anything you want me to specifically comment on, feel free to like comment below. Okay, so this next comment, commenter said, "The Street Woman Fighter finale seemed so fake to me. It was obvious that Mnet was not going to let Jam Republic win in their own country. I can see the bored faces of the Jam Republic girls. They already knew it. I'm 100% sure that Mnet did that choreo to Jam, but Koreans." So this was like a big sentiment. I think I did talk about this in the video a little, that the idea that Jam Republic never had a chance because it is an international group where the vote was mainly Korean people voting. And I always bite my tongue to be like, all Koreans are only going to vote for Koreans. Because like I said, there was a lot of Jam Republic fans. Like you could even see in the, like, when anytime they had performances that were in front of a live audience, people were like literally gagging over like anything Jam Republic did. And I think, I don't know if this was already planned, but they literally are having their own like little show where they're like going around to like places in Korea, and I feel like that's literally a reaction to the popularity that they're having. So like, as much as like I get that sentiment, and I definitely think we see that before, I always hold myself to say that as an absolute, because I don't think it's fair, because there are jammies that are Korean jammies that would have like probably voted for Jam Republic. Now, I mentioned this in the actual video, but I do think that the Korean teams had an advantage with the vote, specifically because they could be like, hey mom, tell all the people at work to vote, and because as long as they had a Korean phone number, they could vote, as opposed to if like Jam Republic were telling their friends and family at home to vote, it would mean nothing because they couldn't vote. So I do think that is a bit of a bias. I don't know how I feel about the idea that Mnet would have never let them win. This was a sentiment that came up a lot in Produce 48, and ultimately we found out that was rigged, but in Produce 48, when it was Korean trainees, and then it was Japanese trainees from the AKB48 groups or whatever, and that was like a big thing. Like, the Japanese girls, despite how popular they are, they're never going to place first because Mnet would not allow it. And to this day, do I think, based on what I saw, the lineup was very shady? Yes. But one of the biggest things that people had a gripe about when it came to that was Wonyoung being number one. And obviously there was the whole thing that she was very young at the time, so that was very weird. But I think a lot of people were just like, it should have been Sakura. And now Wonyoung is a huge star, so it's kind of like, we don't. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of frustrating. But here's the thing, though. I will say, and I say this respectfully, I get a little frustrated and uncomfortable. I don't know how to say it. When people project how they feel onto other people. And by that I mean specifically the comment where you put that I could see the bored faces of the Jam Republic girls they already knew. I feel like, okay, so we all feel like they got robbed. We all feel like we were over it because, it seemed like they didn't have a chance to win because they were the foreign group. But I feel like saying that, Jam Republic also was like, knew it was rigged and stuff like that, that's a lot to put on them. Like, it's fine to feel like that's how you felt about it, but then bringing the girls and their personal opinions, or what they were thinking and feeling, I feel like we have to kind of, as like a fandom, or as people online just in general, because I see this in a lot of different iterations, we have to kind of cool it with projecting how we feel into other people. Like, I see this all the time a lot. Like, if a fandom doesn't like one idol group, they'll act like, my fave also doesn't like them. And I don't know, it just kind of is like, let them speak for themselves. And I think in particular, the post that Audrey made post the show wrapping up, where she had commented on some of the negative comments she was seeing towards Bebe and other groups due to the fact that Jam Republic lost and they won. And she basically was like, everyone worked hard, the winner deserved it, and if you're running around saying that kind of stuff on my behalf, it's just, don't even do it. And I feel like it's like, okay, she's now said, I think that whoever won put in hard work and stuff like that. So then to go and be like, I know that they were bored or over it, and I know that they feel that it was rigged. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I just feel like, you can feel it yourself without having to rope other people into it. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. All right. This was an interesting comment. I know a lot of people will say that this is a hate comment, but in my opinion, it again like talks about I don't know. It kind of is like, again, talks about what this show even is about. Now, I'm having trouble here. Let me real quick rewire this. All right. So the comment, again, is from the Jam Republic video, and somebody commented, oopsies, look how high it is. Just, I can go twice as high. All right. Also, hi, Andre. Welcome to the stream. This commenter said, Bebe may have won, but they aren't the best skilled dance team on the show. This is actually a very interesting point because skilled, things like skilled creative, things like that, in theory, I guess they could be more objective than subjective. But my thing is like, we have to really understand or really think through. I think this is a good thing, right? If we really thought through what these shows are about, I feel like a lot of people would not be as frustrated. In theory, this show is a crew dance show. But once you bring in voting, once you bring in video views, once you bring in stuff that is based off of people's subjective opinions, we're not just like, it no longer becomes we're just going to have the best dancer here. Like, because again, I think an earlier comment had mentioned like they should weight the judges score more. That way, like it's a lot objective. Well, you know what it would be like 100% objective if there was no vote. No video views were factored in. It was just judges, a panel, like a 50 person panel of like top judges, and they just voted and that was it. I still think that show would be watched, but I feel like similar to the previous comment said, a lot of people like the fact with these like competition shows that they get a say. So I feel like people might not be as interested in something where they don't have a say. But again, once you start bringing in video views, popularity votes and stuff like that, this no longer is a show that's just here to be like, who is objectively the best skilled dancer here? That's the winner. And knowing that, something like being the best skilled dancer is irrelevant because, again, if that was all they cared about, they would just have a panel of objective, like a large amount of judges, so nothing's weighted too heavy, like nobody has too much of a weight and stuff like that. So it's interesting you say that because it's almost like, and I say this with respect, like because it's like that even if they were like saying, oh, best dance crew, that wasn't really the point. As soon as you bring in some type of judge, yes, dun 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 dun. Hi Andre. Today I meant to write a little cute thingy, but comment court where I'm just going through and I like noticed that I got a lot of comments on a lot of the video clips I uploaded to my channel from the podcast. So I was just going through and doing a little cute comment court thing where I give comments on the comments. Just for fun. I don't want anyone to think I'm like judging them or anything like that. I just think there's a lot of comments, and for me, oh my God, I really hate typing because I'm really prone to typos. Oh my God, why this font? I'm really I'm really prone to typos. So if I can I feel like I can explain myself better when I can talk about things. So I wanted to just comment on some of that stuff. I think I have time to do like one more comment court. Let's do a black outline. Let's make her thick. Thick. All right. No, I can select font too. Some of these fonts need to go to jail. Some fonts just didn't exist. No offense. It's just like, what's going on? Be for real. That's the font. Stop. Boom, boom. Okay, there you go. Andre says, honestly, as far as survival shows go, I would give the judges more say, similar to So You Think You Can Dance. Still viewers vote, but the judges' votes should weigh more. Yeah, and I feel like that's a lot of that's kind of what we're coming to a consensus. People want a really unbiased, non-popularity contest type thing. It's got to be more judges. But I was saying, I don't know if you saw the first season of Street Woman Fighter. A lot of people criticized Boa because they feel like she didn't know what she was doing because she wasn't voting the way they would vote. And she, some people felt her commentary was off and things like that. So I feel like what ends up happening is then all the frustration that maybe is towards the fandoms or the groups who won now just goes to the judges. But there'll be issues and things you can bring up for everything. But I just thought, that's one thing that I can see people being like, oh, yeah. Oh, snap. That was okay. So that was actually all the time I had just reading through that last oopsies. Hold on. All right. So I feel bad because Andre, you just got here, but I'm at my 30 minutes. So thank you guys so much, everyone who came through these past couple days for these morning streams. They've been really, really fun. I definitely, like I said, love streaming in the morning. So, just going through them, seeing who shows up, seeing, what I can kind of do has kind of like maybe like, okay, this could be a thing I can do. So I'll probably be a bit experimental next week with them too. But like I mentioned, I think that 11 o'clock time is probably what I'm going to go for. Also, I don't think I'll be doing these every day. It's probably either going to be Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays, or Tuesdays and Thursdays. I have to try that. But like 2 or 3 streams will probably be what I'm doing. All right. Well, I hope everyone has a good day. Again, thank you, Andre, for coming through. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.